Well, we've got some amazing local bed and breakfasts here in Avon. We're always happy to have Mine House joining with us. Usually we've got Tamara in the kitchen showing off what kind of incredible breakfast they cook. Today we've got Todd Roehr from Mine House. Roehr. I always do that.
That's okay. It's okay.
We've got Todd Roehr from Mine House here, but he's not just a bed and breakfast owner. He's also a local community advocate, if you will. It's been centered on the Avon recall elections. So let's touch on a couple things here. I do want to focus in on Mine House eventually.
Sure.
But
however you want to do that. Yeah, it's fine.
Oh, don't worry.
It's your show.
I'm a master of segues.
You are great.
Yeah,
you are the chatty guy. Yeah. All right. Cool.
So first off, just Avon recall elections. Now, background for our audience. After some tumultuous sort of occurrences and a judge overturning the fact that the recall would need the recall elections are going to proceed as planned. So essentially your side of the debate floor ended up winning, for lack of a better term in my brain right now.
Sounds like a good term.
So where does it stand now for you? Because you're still not done.
So as you mentioned, the recall election is going forward now after a judge's order. There were a couple of, delays right after the judge made the order. Those things have been brought up before the court, and summaries of progression of that has been brought before the court. And then the committee has also now asked the court for attorney's fees. The original action was brought by actually the Town of Avon against 5 individuals and the recall committee. So the original legal action in its entirety was brought by the Town of Avon against the committee. The committee did not initiate any kind of action like this.
Well, the Town of Avon didn't necessarily set up the committee, and it all centered around the old Nottingham barn that the public did vote to demolish, but you found, or the Avon Recall Committee found, that there were too many back-end dealings, which is why you wanted to proceed with the recall in a short form version.
Okay, so a couple of issues on that. So as far the statute, the Colorado Revised Statutes is the laws of the state of Colorado, okay? There's a couple other places where there's executive orders and that kind of stuff, but Colorado Revised Statutes is the law of the state of Colorado that sits underneath the Constitution of the state of Colorado, okay? And so usually things that are changed in the course of a legislative action is part of the C.R.S., the Colorado Revised Statutes. So now I can say C.R.S. and not stumble over my own words any further. I'm not the linguist that you are. So, C.R.S. In the recall statute says that the petition is limited to 200 words as far as the reason to bring forth a recall. So, as you correctly note, the issue about the Hannawalt barn was brought forth in that 200 words. There was also an issue about taxes that are in the 200 words. There's also an issue about taxes that are brought when a property is sold and bought and sold, 2% tax on our considerable high-priced real estate that drives the economy really drives the economy of the entire county, positively or negatively, depending upon a host of views. So those were the issues brought up in the 200 words. Even getting to those 200 words, there was a lot of resistance from the town and entities to actually settle on what were 200 words, like Eagle Vale was 1 word, or Eagle, if it was 2 or not, that kind of thing. Kind of water in the bridge at this point.
The minutia of politics.
That's
the fun stuff. Right?
It is. And then, so there was a lot of delay going on with that process to begin with. And then the petition goes out, and you have a certain number of days for the petition signers to gather signatures on a recall election petition. So the petitioners, and the question came up in the lawsuit initially, was the number of signatures required on the petitions. So the statute, C.R.S. statute, regarding a recall committee states specifically that a recall committee has to be formed of not less than 3 and not more than 5 people. So 3 to 5 people are on the committee, and that committee is responsible for representing the petitioners in all actions going forward. So the only 3 petitioners right now are myself, Tamara Sturgill, the excellent cook that comes in here, and Paul Jenick, who's better known for doing a lot of stuff with the ski sports and ski racing in the community. So those are the only 3 committee members. Everybody outside of that is really not a committee member, and so you hear a lot of harangue, I guess, from the other side, throwing out names that they say are or are not part of the committee. For instance, the Vail Daily has, in their last article about this, has a big picture of Tom Roehr in a Hawaiian shirt, talking at the podium, exercising his free speech rights at the town council meeting, and says that Tom Roehr is a committee member. Well, I wrote back to the Vail Daily that I wanted that corrected, and they told me that I was wasting their time. It's important for any news organization, and you're acting in that function right now, to actually report things that are factual and can be verified. I mean, I'm hitting you off the cuff on this. You can't verify these things, but I can show you these things at another time. And if I say something wrong or we say something wrong, and you want to retract it, I bless that entirely.
Well, when you come on to focus on this topic, the thing that always comes into my head is for the constituents of Avon,
right?
Why? Because it will cost money on both the recall election and now as a result of this motion that you're filing to have your attorney's fees paid. And I always go back to, but the barn was demolished.
Right.
So why? Why go through all this trouble in the first place when you've got yourself out attorney's fees now, and now you're looking to get recompensation from the town of Avon and thereby me, because I am an Avon resident.
Me. Yeah, right.
So why?
Okay, so what's been represented as far as an election cost that's been in the paper, and those are the only numbers that I truly know as well, is somewhere in the $10,000 to $15,000 range. Language that I had put in before the court in one of our filings with the summary, and proposing the November 2nd date as the date to do the recall, specifically states, and it was language that I specifically put in there, states that this would be the most economical way to go forward with a recall, is to do it concurrent with the general election that's coming out, the first week in November, on the first Tuesday of November. So that language was aped back in town council in a packet. I pointed out from a podium that was actually our language. And so the initial cost, the cost actually to have in a recall election should be in the $10,000 to $15,000 range, as far as I'm aware. The entire legal action brought against the committee and brought against the people and the petitioners is, to me, an egregious insult to the people that are the petition signers. I'm required by law to represent the people who have signed these petitions. There's been a lot of language coming out of town council people, town attorney Paul Weiser, his partners in his firm, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. A lot of statements that have not been accurate. They haven't followed the law. They've misrepresented what the law is. The only real ruling we have to this date as far as law comes from the judge in the one statement that they actually asked him to rule upon, which was to make a declaratory judgment as to the number of signatures required to have a recall petition. So to me, that would have been a very easy question to have way back when, if they had actually reached out to the committee members, the actual committee members, not people that were making noise around the outside. If they just reached out to me and talked to me, and Eric Heil was previously town attorney, and he's currently and Eric Heil is currently the town manager. So, and I've always had a good interaction with Eric Heil. And I still, to this day, Eric Heil and I talk and discuss things, behind the scenes. Go ahead.
Unfortunately, Todd, we have run ourselves out of time here.
Yeah.
But always fascinating to have you on to talk about some local politics and continue this conversation at a later date. But I would be remiss if I didn't mention Mine House here in Avon. It's a wonderful little bed and breakfast. You're guaranteed a delightful meal from Tamara, and these guys are going to go hang gliding, learn to hang glide for a couple weeks, and then they'll be back up and running here in late September. So make sure to check out minehouseUSA.com. .com. Book your reservation for Mine House this winter, and we got more Good Morning Vail coming up next.